Infertility is something that someone somewhere is dealing with right now at this very moment. And I have a real life mom who is a friend of mine. She comes to share her very personal story about infertility and what she did to overcome it. Hello there. Thanks for tuning in to Family Planet365. I'm your host, Melina Jackson, and welcome to the show. I'm so glad to be here with you today. On this show, we're talking about infertility and choosing the next best steps for you. So we have a guest here today who's going to take us down her journey, but everybody's journey is different. So I just want you to listen or watch and figure out, what's the next best step for me if you are struggling with infertility and what to do next. My guest today is, like I said, a real life mom and happens to be a friend of mine through the show. Nancy Karras is here. Welcome, Nancy.
Hi, Melina. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Nancy, just give me a quick rundown, and then we're going to ask specific questions, about like what you did. But tell me, how did you? I want to say you're a new mom. For some reason, in my mind, I'm like, she's a new mom, a first-time mom. But I know your daughter's a little older, so you've been down this journey a while ago. But what did you how did you find out you were infertile or you were not able to bear a child?
Right. So I had a tremendous career in New York City as the head of human resources for a lot of different companies. And so I had never quite found the right guy. And so I just focused on my career. And people used to tell me, you better freeze your eggs, you better do this, you better find a guy, and I ignored everybody.
Nancy, so if you don't mind me asking, how old were you at this time?
I was in my mid-30s, maybe, and people were starting to bother me, right?
Okay.
How come you haven't found someone? You better
you're so perfect,
right,
you're a career woman.
Right. Where's the man?
Yeah.
I was focused on my career, and until I met the right guy, I wasn't going to do it just to do it.
Okay.
So I waited. And I didn't focus on my fertility or infertility.
So you didn't freeze your eggs or do
nothing? I didn't do anything. And then when I was in my 40s, I was in New York during 9/11, and it blew me away personally and emotionally. And I realized, hey, I'm 41, I'm single, I'm living in Midtown Manhattan in the bullseye. I have no kids, I'm a great aunt, I'm a great friend, I'm a great, career woman, but maybe I'm missing a piece of my life. And so I left New York. Instead of working in corporate, I did things like Pilates and teaching classes and doing after-school programs for kids and all kinds of fun things. So I met somebody and moved to California.
So you met someone and then moved to Arizona?
No, I moved to Arizona on my own. And then while I was there, I met somebody.
Okay.
And then I moved to California.
Good.
And when I got to California, I got married. And then I decided that I could go either way at this point. I was already in my 40s. So I knew that my chances to have a baby were slim.
Oh, okay.
I had never frozen my eggs. I was already in my 40s. And so, but I was the woman that everybody said, oh my gosh, you have to be a mom. You are like a child whisperer. You're so great with the kids. You have to. And I didn't. So I felt like, okay, I'll be the best, auntie in the world, and that'll be great. But then I met my husband at the time and became more interested in the idea of being a mom again. And so we went and saw a fertility specialist.
So you just right out the gate, you went to a fertility specialist?
No, I'd say we...
Oh, you tried for a while?
We tried, like you, 9 months or so.
Okay.
Yep, gave it a whirl. Gave it a lot of whirls. And, it was a little exhausting, right? But what you have to realize is we get too stressed out about it.
Yeah, that's what...
Right? And
that's what my doctor kept saying.
You sacrifice your relationship to have a baby. And you're like yelling at each other because we have to do it now.
Yeah.
And it takes all the love out of it sometimes. So, you try, and if it doesn't work, at some point you decide if you should seek some advice and counsel as to how to make it happen. When I talk to people about fertility, we have such self-limiting beliefs. I did myself. I want to become a mother. And when they said to me, we think your eggs are not great, what'll happen is you have a 50% chance of getting pregnant every time we try to get you pregnant. And even if we get you pregnant, you have a 50% chance you'll lose the baby before you carry all the way to term. And thirdly, you have a 50% chance that your child will be challenged.
Oh my gosh.
With special needs.
Yeah.
And
I've seen
so,
a lot of cases like that.
Right? So I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I'm paying money to do fertility or to try to pump up my eggs for what? If you're younger, in your 30s maybe, mid-30s, you don't have a partner, you're sure you want to be a mom at some point, it isn't a bad idea to freeze your eggs if you want to. If you're determined it has to be a child from your own body, your own genetics, let's say that. So if you determine that, then you have to go a certain path. But you can become a mom in so many ways. So for me, I decided that with the chances I had, I wasn't taking my chances. I didn't need to give birth to a child that's really challenged. I didn't want to take a chance of getting pregnant, doing all this fertility treatment, and then losing it. I think that we all have very self-limiting beliefs when it comes to being mothers. And so we, me included, believe that it has to be our own baby. So when they said to me, egg donor, your husband's sperm, I was like, in what room? Right? I was, and then I felt like I am not a woman. I am not complete. I'm not ever going to have a little Nancy. And then I had to mourn, really mourn that that was my reality. At the time, I felt like it was a detriment, poor me, oh my gosh, I had to do something else to have a baby. I was very challenged by the whole thing, but I really decided I wanted to be a mom. And so...
Yeah, because you are in it now. You've done a lot.
Yeah. So we agreed to use an egg donor. And I share my story, which is very personal, because I know that women look up to me as a professional and as a business and personal coach. And I don't want women to look at me and say, she waited till she was 45 and she had her daughter.
Thank you.
And they all assume that I'm Superwoman, right? And so I wish I had someone to talk to when I was in my mid-30s who could help me. After I had my daughter, I started doing fertility coaching for a while and focusing on fertility because there's so much that women don't know. You're so alienated because so many people, either their church doesn't accept it, their families won't like it, I can't tell you how many people secretly use egg donors and sperm donors and don't tell anybody that it's not really their sperm or their egg.
I never knew that.
Totally.
So, okay, here we are. You're mourning the idea or the fact that you're not going to have a baby come out of your body.
Oh, no. But that's the crazy thing. I had to mourn that I won't have my own genetic baby.
That's right, because it won't be your...
Because genetically, it's not my baby, right? Or the genetics are not the same, but they took that egg and my husband's sperm, and they created an embryo that they then implanted into my uterus.
They did, okay.
So without my nourishment, blood, air, life, she would not have been made.
Let's go back to, you said the reproductive solutions in Porter Ranch. Did you just pull that out of your hat? Like, how did you choose that facility?
I was given 3 names by my doctor. So there's a couple things that people should know. Your doctor will give you a couple names. You have to check out each one.
Okay.
You really have to check out your stuff. Also, they put you on lots of meds, and they put you on lots of hormones, and they're very, very expensive. Fertility treatments are very expensive. You can buy the medicine in other countries, but the doctors are not allowed to tell you that unless you ask.
Okay.
So ask your doctor always, is there a more reasonable way for me to obtain these medications?
Okay. And so you had to be medicated for 6 months before you...
Oh no, it's longer than that.
So
because
this is a long process.
Yes, you take all kinds of drugs.
Why?
Because depending on where you are in the cycle. So for example, I used an egg donor. So first they want to get her eggs going.
Okay.
But then they want to stop my cycle. They don't want me to get a period because the eggs will come out, right? But they don't want me to get pregnant either, but they want to be able to trick my body into thinking it's pregnant.
So that's where the hormones come in.
So now I'm taking hormones first to prepare my body. Well, first to tell my body I'm not pregnant.
Right.
To stop my periods, and then to tell my body that it's pregnant even though it isn't, so that it'll hold the embryo when they implant it.
Now, before the break, Nancy, you went over basically once you get the embryos implanted and some of the things you needed to do to make sure that you stay in a space where, you know, everything would stay planted so you could birth this baby. So let's fast forward a bit. So we have the baby in there, and you find out, obviously, that she's a keeper. He or she is a keeper. Tell me a little bit about that experience, and then the experience of actually birthing the child.
Sure. So I remember watching a movie. I was 5 months pregnant, maybe, with my husband, and I don't know what we were watching, but the guy said to the girl, the woman said to the guy, I love you so much. I'm going to make a baby in your image just for you because I love you. And I looked at my husband. I said, I'm never going to have a baby in my image. And I cried and cried and cried and cried. And if I could tell you, I gave birth to my soulmate. And every day of my life, I thank God that I had infertility.
Well, I like that because at one point you were feeling like, you know, you were less than and not able to create a child in your image. But you have that very thing based on what you just explained to me.
So the lesson is for all of us, I think, that we worry about things in life that are out of our control. And if we would let go, you know, in AA, they say let go and let God.
Yes.
Some people leave it up to the universe. Some people have faith in themselves. But whatever you have faith in, if you want to be a mother, there are so many babies out there who need to be loved. If your goal is truly to be a mother and not the ego part, which I realized I got over, the baby had to be in my image, right? But maybe the baby doesn't have to be in my image. Maybe the baby just needs a mom to love them. So I think that that was a huge, huge lesson for me. I worried and was upset, and you know, every step of it was an issue, and I would do the whole thing over again.
I was going to ask you that. Would
Absolutely.
you do it over again?
I would recommend it to anybody.
Okay, and the egg donor.
It's so your baby. It's so, there's no question. You know, and when you give birth and you've carried the baby as a woman who, you know, was implanted with embryos through an egg donor, you know, it's the same experience. I nursed my daughter for almost 2 years. Yeah, and had a vaginal birth, and everything was like boom, boom, boom. Amazing. And I was 45. Yeah.
And even carrying the child, your body was up for it, huh?
My body was up for it until the end. I had preeclampsia, and I got very sick at the end. But
it was the end.
And I'm with a doctor who knows what they're doing, and so we had extra embryos. Usually you'll have extra embryos. And the question was, do you want to do it again? Because do you want a second child? You have the embryos. But my birth was so scary. My daughter's birth, my blood pressure was 202. over 108, which is close to stroking out. So they had me on some magnesium drip the whole time. So when I looked at those chances and I thought, I have just gone through all of this to give birth to this beautiful, precious child. I'm not going to try again. What am I looking for? I got what I'm looking for. Oh, wow. So if it was a medical challenge, no thanks. So I can risk not being there for her because I'm going to try to have another one. Like, when do we appreciate what we have and find gratitude? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people need to focus more on, instead of, I can't get pregnant. No, but you can be a mom.
Well, that's our show for this week. I'm so glad you took the time to be with us. I know your schedules are busy. You have things you could be doing, but you chose to be here at Family Planet365. But be sure to subscribe to our channel and give us a big thumbs up if you're digging what I'm dishing. This is Family Planet365. I'm your host, Melina Jackson, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.
Thanks for having me, Melina.
You're welcome. The pleasure's all mine. Bye. All right, that was cool.